What is an appraisal? How much is it? And what are some surprising factors that affect a home appraisal? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Theresa with homeownerexperience.com, and today we're going to cover how much does an appraisal cost? Who pays for the home appraisal? Is there a difference in a bank appraisal and in a real estate appraisal? And also we will touch on what hurts a home appraisal at the end so you can be prepared when your appraisal is coming. Now, we always want you to make an informed decision. So if you need an appraisal contingency or not in your purchase, you should do this research and understand the details up front. So first off, what is a home appraisal? Well, when you have a home loan, the bank hires a third-party independent appraiser to write up a report on the home's value. Now, the appraiser gets a copy of the purchase contract to see the price and terms. Then the appraiser visits the property to see the details and location specifics and make notes on the home and updates. And then third, the appraiser researches recent area sales to see if he can justify the sales price with actual sales data. Now, it works this way since the bank is assuming that the property was sold on the open market and therefore came to a true market value. But they want to justify it with other similar sales. So what is a similar sale? Well, it's the closest match in 3 different categories. First, size and square footage, plus or minus 100 or 200 square feet if possible, and ideally with the same number of bedrooms and baths. Second, location within a half mile, no more than a mile, and definitely in the same zip code and school district. And third is going to be time, ideally within 30 to 60 days, no more than 90 days. Now, the appraiser is going to use the most recent similar sales whenever possible, closest, most recent, etc. Now, to complete the full appraisal report, the appraiser needs to gather 3 to 5 solds and 1 to 2 pending sales to have a full look in the eyes of the bank. Now, if there are multiple offers, the listing agent can take the activity and also provide that information to the bank to take into consideration. The appraiser will adjust comps if they're not perfect matches, such as 1 less bedroom means they have to adjust the price for this difference, or an extra bathroom, maybe $15K. Now, the appraiser then puts weight on each comparable sale to compensate mathematically the value. And if some of the comparable sales are much better than others, obviously they're going to be weighted more heavily. Now, work with your agent to understand the comparable sales and potential value so you know if the property is priced according to the most similar comparable sales. Remember those 3 criteria. And also search sold properties on homeownerexperience.com using the map feature and refining the search to sales back only 2 months. Search the area around where you are focused, and you can even ask a question to get my professional opinion and thoughts on why a particular property has a certain sold price or what detail maybe affected that sold price. How does an appraisal actually play out when you're in contract? Well, the appraiser reaches out to the buyer's agent to schedule an appointment, and then the buyer's agent can share their comparable sale research with the appraiser to make sure they understand the school district lines, maybe some home updates that were really valuable to the eyes of the buyer, and take all of that into account in their research. At their visit, the appraiser takes note on the property condition and updates and will review the seller update list as part of this research and comparison. Then the appraiser selects key sold and pending comps and makes adjustments if necessary for any key metric or update in the comps versus the subject property. Now, the appraiser puts this all together in a formal report and sends it off to the bank. The bank will audit the report, make sure it's thoroughly done, and hopefully approve it, at which time you as the buyer will be notified of the appraisal review completion and you will get the report. I hear many home buyers get mixed up with the vocabulary, and I have heard clarification questions asked about whether there's a difference between a bank appraisal and a real estate appraisal. The quick answer is no. They're basically the same thing. The bank appraisal is what we described above, and a real estate appraisal is exactly that. But I do see many people call a comparable market analysis by a real estate agent a real estate appraisal, but that is not correct. Officially, an appraisal is a formal write-up on the property in the specific bank format, and the comps are what your agent will use to understand value. They are also a basis for the bank appraisal, but remember, the bank appraisal will adjust the comparable sales to come up with the adjusted value for each comparable property when viewing it next to the subject property, because as you know, not one property is ever the same. So now let's talk about an appraisal contingency. When writing a purchase offer, you have the option for an appraisal contingency. In the San Jose area, when there's multiple offers expected, the buyer should seriously review their risk and financial exposure for an appraisal and decide if this is one contingency they can remove from the property offer. Now, if the buyer waives the appraisal contingency, then they should really understand the risk and have a backup plan in case the property does not appraise. Many buyers ask me, how much does an appraisal cost and who pays for the home appraisal? Appraisals in the San Jose area cost between $500 and $1,000, depending on the area and if you're asking for a rush turnaround time. Now, the buyer or person getting the loan pays for the appraisal. Some banks may give credits to cover this cost as part of the loan package, but not all banks, and you will probably pay for the appraisal up front, then get the credit later. Lastly, what are 4 surprising factors that can affect a home appraisal? First off, any visual indications of structural issues such as large cracks in the wall or exterior of the home. Now, this may raise red flags to the appraiser that the property is not sound, and in extreme cases, banks will not even lend on these properties and a cash buyer would be required. Now, upkeep and maintenance of a yard and house is also important. If the house is very worn down, the appraiser will take that into account when doing the adjustments on the comparable sales. And third is potentially any strong odors of pets or food, which also would likely influence the price a buyer's willing to pay, just like it would have influenced the appraiser. And lastly is going to be the neighborhood condition or area. These factors do affect how the appraiser compares one property to another in their adjustments. Now, what other surprising factor could hurt a home appraisal or value? That's going to be a death on the property, especially if it was a crime or violent death, which will affect the perceived value of the buyer, obviously, but could affect the value as seen by the bank as well. Now, I hope we clarified your questions about appraisals. Please comment below if you have further questions and like this video if you found it helpful. When you get serious about finding the next home, even if it's 3 to 6 months away, I recommend a buyer consultation. People often ask me tips and tricks for navigating the home buying process, and this buyer consultation meeting is focused on planning and educating you with insider tips. We enjoy putting the best plan together with you to create the best outcome. When we meet, these are things you can expect, things that my best clients say they really appreciated. First off, insider tips for the loan process and our list of favorite lenders, discussion of your purchase power and budget so you understand how banks determine the loan amount. Third, help you build your ideal property profile with your budget in mind, and also talk through the best tools to use and how to avoid common mistakes. And really valuable is we help you make a strategic plan and timeline to meet your goals. We'll also discuss different neighborhoods and cities and address your questions in this meeting. If these insider tips are what you're looking for, schedule a free buyer consultation with us, either in person or on Zoom. Check out the link below.